What if I told you that you could design and live the life that you want on your own terms? Would you do it? Would you take a leap into the unknown? Or would you settle for a life of limits, a life of safety but lacking true meaning? Zeph and Moses Blacksburg here, and I'm on a journey to help you ignite your inner passions, let go of your fears, and get more out of life. Will you join me and make this year your year of purpose? Welcome to the Year of Purpose podcast. Zeph and Blacksburg here, and I'm the host of the Year of Purpose podcast. Today we feature Cathi Hargaden. Cathi has been teaching and implementing Feng Shui for over 20 years with a diverse background in radio journalism, lecturing in health professional, and entrepreneur. She has traveled extensively throughout the world and experienced many different kinds of cultures, and she offers many real-life stories on the power of environments affecting people in their everyday life. Cathi's work has helped clients increase revenue, reduce stress, resolve conflicts, build health, and more. She is the host of the Feng Shui Mastery Show podcast, and today she's joining us on the Year of Purpose podcast. Cathi, how are you doing today?
I'm fine, thank you very much. Thanks for inviting me today.
Yeah, thanks for being here today. So I was telling you before we jumped on this call, I'm super excited to have you here because this is something that I've always kind of been interested in. It's something that I probably should spend a lot more time learning about. So tell us just briefly, what is your definition of Feng Shui and why is it really important?
Well, it's interesting because I started off looking at the ancient philosophy, which is about 4,000 years old, coming from China. And when I started to investigate what it was about, I realized that it was like a spider's web. It started taking me into all different kinds of phenomena, like studying science and mathematics and astrology and architecture and color, sacred geometry. I can go on and on. And it was an amazing array of subjects that I never thought this journey would bring me onto. And as time has gone on, I've actually cultivated some of my own ideas about Feng Shui, which might be a bit distant from the ancient principles, but I still implement them. But I'm looking at also internal Feng Shui, how we can actually create a space within us, both philosophically and actually nutritionally, so that we're resonating with our environments both internally and externally.
I really like that. So not only taking care of the things that are outside and around us, because I think, at least from what most people know or think about it, is they think, oh, it's how you arrange your house or what's in your room or what colors. But it sounds like we could really go much deeper than that and probably organize our minds.
Yes, definitely. Or even get out of your mind. About
That's
that.
something that I love to take advantage of.
Well, you can join me on my next journey for Feng Shui for health and spirituality. But I just wanted to say that it's complex, but it also can be simple. And the thing is, when people want to make changes, because that's what it's about, it's come from the ancient I Ching, which is a book called the Book of Change. And our lives are changing from nanosecond to nanosecond, from the very micro part of us, which is the cells, to the macro, which is the planets. So we're changing all the time. And if we can go with the flow of that change, then often life can be a lot more easier. But often the problems and the obstacles come about when we resist those changes. And sometimes we're not even aware that there is a change or a flow. So it's getting into that flow and being aware of it. And if I said to people, okay, you want to make changes, well, you're going to have to change how you think or how you feel. Believe me, I'm a health professional. That's not going to happen because people don't know what to change within themselves. But if you start saying, well, how about changing the colors around you? How about letting go of all the memorabilia that's cluttering your house? How about putting pictures up that actually orientate you to where you want to go in your life? Then it's easy for people to change things on the outside. And then those things on the outside start to change people on the inside. because to go from the inside outwards sometimes is very difficult for people and it's
Hmm.
too challenging.
So this is something that is not necessarily explained by science. Is that correct? Because
No, no, this is science. This is where science meets art. Now, you mentioned science. If you look at Nikola Tesla, he said that the universe is made. If you want to understand the universe, he said, look at energy, vibration, and frequency. And I would say, if you want to understand feng shui, you look at vibration, frequency, and energy, because that's what it's about. It's about the energies within and without us, the vibration of the place where you're living, and what you yourself are exuding, and the frequency of that. The lower the frequency, the slower the energy. The faster the frequency, the more elevated. So we've all been into places, haven't we, where we felt uplifted and, oh, that's fantastic. I like to be here. And then think about places that you've been where you think, I just want to get out of here right away.
hmm
Think about when you go into a hospital. Who wants to be in there? Very few people. Who wants to be in the law courts where all those thoughts and all the feelings that people are obsessed about and conflict? Who wants to be around there for any length of time? So there are many institutions where people are living out their lives and it's actually causing them distress within. And then there's their own homes. They go back to their homes. Their homes aren't a haven. Their homes are not places where they recharge. They're places where they also are absorbing the previous people's patterns of behavior. So, can you allow me to explain that a little bit more?
Yeah, absolutely.
Think about this where you're living now. Who lived there before? And think of the life they may have had. Now, there's a man, there's a doctor, he's just died recently called Dr. Emoto, and he's saying that in the atmosphere there's water, and water holds memory. So if there's moisture always in our atmospheres, and people's memories are trapped in water, then these create patterns. What I want to get over to people is that there are patterns everywhere. There's patterns in water and there's patterns in the energy and the environment around us. Our lives are patterns as well. So if you're walking into a room or a house or you buy a place and the energy hasn't been cleared, so for example, in the States where you are and in Canada, you would have the native Indians used to cleanse the land. Increasingly in the West, we're out of touch with that. We don't. Yes, we might kind of do a few renovations. Yes, we might do a bit of spring cleaning, but we don't heal the space. So is it any wonder that people go into the same spaces where there has been friction, divorce, conflict, and they start to live out the lives sometimes of other people?
It's interesting that you bring up the idea of, vibrations and energy. I mean, at the end of the day, our brains are just electrical impulses that are firing. So, I mean, it makes perfect sense. Now, when it comes to certain energies being in certain areas, funny story for you, I've actually been to a ghost hunt. And this is not your typical, like, we're just giving you a tour of an old haunted town and we have stuff pop
Mhm.
out at you. This was on the infamous Gettysburg battlefield, probably hour away from my house. And
Okay.
going into this, I was skeptical. I had never experienced anything like it before, but I'd always known that I have a unique ability to sense emotions, even if sometimes it's from people who are across the entire country on the other side. Um, and so we went into this mansion that was an old hospital at the time, and we're talking hundreds of people died here. This was not a very nice place during the time of the war, and they had us wander around, and ultimately I found myself there's a way to get up into the attic, and there's this very odd ladder that leads from the floor of the attic to the ceiling of the house. And I really had no idea what it was, but I went and sat on like the third or fourth rung and just kind of sat there for a moment. And I was with, this group of people with the electromagnetic field detectors and all sorts of things. And I just sat in the moment and tried to like be there in my thoughts and just see whatever I felt. And all of a sudden, this extreme sadness came over me. And I turned to the people who were facing me and I was like, someone died in here. And just as I said that, the person who was leading our trip was walking up the stairs and he heard me and he said, who died? And I said, I feel like someone hung themselves in here.
Oh.
And he stands next to me and he, puts the meter right next to me and it's going off all sorts of craziness. Lights are lighting up. They said that at one point in time, my face just went pure white and they took a photo of me and you see this gray sort of cloud next to me and you can't really tell what it is. But when I told him that, I was like, I think someone hung themselves here. He said, boy or girl? And I said, girl. And he said, a girl hung herself about 3 inches to the left of your head.
Oh, wow.
And it's amazing to me because I had gone in completely skeptical, not knowing what to expect. And the fact that I was able to not only detect, gender, emotion, occurrences in that room, I fully believe that you can tell what has gone on in a place if you're sensitive enough to it.
Yeah.
And some people who aren't sensitive enough should at least be a little bit more aware of what's going on so that they can do things like, for example, cleanse the room and things of that nature.
Yeah, these are patterns. The people themselves aren't in the room. It's the patterns that are left behind, and I call it energetic debris. So in the eastern part of the world, they cleanse a space all the time. At the moment, we have lots of flats being built in central London, and they're specifically for Chinese clientele because they refuse to live in the periodic properties we have here. When I say periodic, I mean old houses that have been established for, let's say, 200 years, 100 years, because they don't want to be living with the spirits of the previous tenants.
Wow.
So, that's why they want new, fresh energy places to live. But the thing is, I've worked in places when I was in the radio field, and they built a whole housing estate on an old chemical works. And the people living on this estate, they all looked ill. And it's because you've got the gases from the soil and the ground exuding, coming up, permeating up through the ground. So, even if you live in new houses, it still doesn't really, it's about the land and the relationship with the land. So I mean that's one aspect of feng shui. Then you're looking at colors. You're looking at why is the advertising world such a big corporate entity right across the world? It's because they're wanting to capture our eyes, our minds all the time with messages, buy this, do that. Well, likewise, in our own properties, we have to ask ourselves, what are we choosing to surround ourselves with? What colors? What's the messages on the walls in terms of, have we got people that there's lots of isolated people in the pictures, or have we got pictures of people all together? Because these pictures are subliminally affecting us all the time. And that's why the power of advertising is very, very powerful. So what I suggest in the webinars that I do is I say to people, get your own advertising agency in your own environment and start supporting yourself as to where you want to go in your life. Because getting back to some of the ideas behind your podcast about one purpose, it's like often people, when I do a feng shui consultation, people don't know what they want. That's the first port of call. What is it I want? So feng shui is a brilliant tool to get people to actually sit down, be quiet, and just kind of get their compass and say, where am I going? Which direction am I going in? We actually use a compass. And to get people to get clarity on what would it look like? Whatever way they're heading in, what would that look like? So these are the benefits of space clearing your property. Also, the whole concept of clutter, especially if anybody's in business, um, you know, they're surrounded by so much paper or clutter from the past. I know people in business, and the space is chaotic, and they can't think clearly. I've been in over 1,000 homes, and I look around at the environment, and I'm thinking, yeah, that's why you're ill.
Yeah.
Have you seen what you're living in? You know, have you looked at the dead plants? Have you looked at all the paperwork and the chaos here? But people don't see it because they're in a habitual way of thinking, and they're living out a pattern in that. And it doesn't matter if it's an apartment or a semi-detached house. It doesn't matter if it's a mansion or if it's a caravan, a mobile home, motorhome. You say there. It doesn't matter. The space that you occupy, you have to cleanse it and bring into it what you want to be telling your mind subliminally.
So let's pretend for a minute that we are somebody listening to this podcast. And I think that a lot of people that have listened to it probably relate to where I was at about a year ago, where they just feel stuck. Maybe they're working a job they don't want to be in. Maybe they are entrepreneurs and it's not going so well for them. Either way, where could we start, or what should we start doing so that, let's just say we're starting from the beginning. We're stuck. How do we get unstuck?
Okay. Well, the first port of call before you even start doing any feng shui is clear the clutter. So that is things of the past that are not sentimental but no longer are needed. And I know, especially over in the States there, where people have got their garages crammed tight with articles of the past and, oh no, I might need it one day. That mentality that I've got to hold on to things because I may never get them back again. It all comes from a mindset, doesn't it, of frugality. Some generations they've never known wealth, so they want to hold on to everything they've got, and in so doing, they create a frozenness and a rigidity, and that's how they get into a rut. So basically, the first step is clear the clutter, and that's easier said than done. Look around you where all these self-storage places are sweeping the world, not just the country, the world. Self-storage. Think about what that means. You are storing yourself in a box, which means you're going to be frozen because your life's on hold. That's what it suggests. If you're not going to use it, let go. Let go of it. You've got to create space around you for new things to come in. The old Zen saying that, I can't teach you anything because you're so full of. When your cup is full and you're overflowing, how can new things come in? So a lot of us, especially in all various cultures, actually, is that we need to empty ourselves, let go. Yeah. And the second one is that space clearing that I was telling you about. There are many different, there's a couple of YouTubes I've done where I just show a little demonstration on how they can cleanse their own space. And you feel better afterwards. And it's great fun to do it. And nobody needs to know. This is it. It can be all secretive or hidden, or it's not something you have to broadcast. And so space clearing and clearing your clutter are the first two things. Then I would say, if you can get yourself a compass and find out where north is. And where north is, I want you to put a picture of where you see yourself going. Let's just keep it simple in the next year. Where would you like to be going? Is it a picture of a nice big boat going off to, the Caribbean or going off to Europe? Is it a picture of a family? You want to create a family. Is it a picture of fame? This is where I'm heading. I want fame. My Oscar moment. Are you a person whose health is compromised at the moment? Then you'd want a lot of nice plants and flowers and things that create a sense of nature. Nature is always good to have in there. I don't know if you can just see my tree
Hmm.
painting there, but it's a tree of life, so that you are abundant in your own life, and your environment is set up to give you these messages back all the time.
You're actually making me wonder where North is in my room right now. Because so I have things on pretty much each wall in this room. So I'm curious. I'm trying to get my compass up here on my phone, but it's asking me to calibrate it, so I might have to check it later. But
Yeah.
I want to know. I'm just curious where I am. So it looks like. So this is interesting. So I'll have to double check it. This is just on my phone right now, but North is telling me it's this way.
Okay.
Um, on that wall, I have my college diploma,
Okay.
two awards for a fundraising event I did many years ago, and another like award of recognition, and a couple of things from like some events and obstacle races that I've run. So just like some awards from that. So those things are all things in the past, right?
They are, yes. I mean, there is a place for them that they can be put in the east or the
Mm-hmm.
south. But if you want a vision going forward, then I mean, because I can't see I mean, what is it? Is there a wall you're looking at behind, looking at me?
Yeah, so there's this flat wall behind me.
Yeah,
Straight ahead, I have a wall, and then I have one wall on either side. It's a little bit skewed because the camera's
sure.
off angle, but for the most part, there's one wall this way, and one on either side.
The other thing is that the wall that you're looking at, if you're working at this desk,
Mm-hmm.
as I'm speaking to you, you want often a picture also of your goal. So what's your goal? And then that one at the side there where it's the north, that's something. It doesn't have to be a picture. It could be something that, a piece of artwork you've done yourself or somebody else has created, where the message, what's the message? The message is where do you want to go? Where do you want your life journey to go?
It's funny you
So it's
bring that
something,
up because I have a piece of artwork I could put there.
yeah.
I actually just had a friend of mine teach me how to paint,
Oh,
and I love to row crew out in a boat on the water,
okay.
and I haven't hung this up yet.
Oh, that is absolutely lovely.
And
And
so I could
not
probably put
only
it up
that,
there.
Steph, do you know the other thing is that one thing I haven't mentioned is the five elements: earth, water, wood, fire, and metal. This is what governs feng shui. And you may think, well, what's that got to do with environments? Well, each of those elements is an energy. Some is earth energy, one fire energy is passion and action, and the water energy is represented in the north because you're flowing. So that has got water in it, that picture. So that is ideal for that wall
Well, I
because it's
think I know
water,
where that's going to go.
yeah, and it's flowing. It's flowing. So can you see that? I don't prescribe to people you must put a picture up that's got three people in it and two dogs. And no, what I say to people is this area is to do with this part of your life, and it is governed by these elements. It could be fire, it could be water. So then it's up to the person to get creative and think, well, there's water in that picture. I'm going on a flow. I'm going to put up that picture. And now, when I look at it, it makes me think, I'm on my way. I'm going somewhere in the direction where I want to go. And can I just say, I've worked in the mental health field, and this has been one of the most powerful tools for me when I've been working with people with mental health issues. Because a lot of people, if they're depressed, they can't do anything. But when I say to them, well, what color would you like around you? What picture would you like around you? It hands the control back to those people because often they're depressed and they've got no control. But this is handing control back to people and saying, I know where I want to go. I want to go to San Francisco or I want to go to Singapore. So they put up a picture of Singapore. Now, some people be going, oh no, this is all too. But let me tell you this. Why does everybody have a TV in every room then in their house? And what exactly is it broadcasting? I tell you what it's broadcasting. Buy me, buy me, buy this, do this. You're not healthy, so therefore you need our product. You are not intelligent enough, so therefore you need this. These are the messages compounding people's subliminal brain channels through the ears, through the eyes, through the other senses, and hence people become self-fulfilling prophecies of what the TV is telling them. And people think they're not that gullible, but we've all been programmed, I'm afraid. So my invitation is for people to start programming where they want to go in their life, get themselves and focus on a purpose, like you're saying, one purpose, and set it up in their own homes and take the control back from the corporations, from the government, and bring the power back into their own living room.
So emptying out the things that we don't need, looking towards the north and figuring out where that is in our homes or in our rooms, maybe businesses and offices, and placing something there.
Yeah.
And then how about, we talk a lot about color in a lot of these things.
Mm.
Should we be wearing a certain color of clothing or eating a certain type of food associated with that?
Well, that's quite an advanced question because people just have to get to grips with some of the principles I've already mentioned. And then you can take it one step further by looking at the vibration, yes, as you say, of colours, what you're wearing. Now, I've just been in central London at the weekend. I walk in and it's very, very noticeable that many people are dressed in black. And I thought, why is that when we have such a host of fantastic colours in our palette that we should choose black? And black absorbs everything. So if there's any depression or any kind of non kind of wanting thoughts, it absorbs all of that. So yes, and for example, you've got a blue t-shirt on. That's very good. Blue is very good for communication. All communication is to do with this chakra here. Foods, with the 5 elements, you actually eat certain coloured foods in with the season in which you live. So, for example, over in England, the seasons, we would be having red and orange foods in the summer because that's to do with fire energy. And then we'd have maybe orange foods like the pumpkin and the sweet potato in the autumn. In the spring, we'd be having loads of greens because that's the spring energy. In the winter, a lot of black and black and purple, like the aubergine and the root vegetables. And so you can actually work with the seasons as well and nutritionally organize your own body. And then I do meditations for people where they can go into psychologically take themselves in and around the organs of their body. Each element is represented by an organ and a colour. And this has really been effective for people when I've used it because they've been able to bring in the power of colour, the power of aroma through their own imagination, and calm down all the different organs in the body because people often self-sabotage and a lot of autoimmune diseases are caused by all of us creating not good thoughts in our head. And we're all guilty of that somewhere along the line. So this is just a few exercises to counteract that and use the colour on your organs like your heart for pink, liver green, kidneys blue, aquamarine for the throat chakra, white for the lungs. And it gets people to connect with the organs in their body. So, because what's happening is that people are disconnected from themselves. They're living up here and they're not connected with the rest of their body. So, besides the environment, what I'm trying to do is bring the Feng Shui internally so that the two come together. Because in the end, we have to look at the whole picture. So, it's holistic. We look at the whole thing holistically. Yes?
So this goes very deep. I mean, this impacts everything from our mindset, our emotions, to our success and how our business runs and how we interact with others. So there's a lot to learn here. Tell me a little bit about the different services and things that you offer, and how you can go in and help somebody make a change, and maybe talk a little bit about the different things that you have affected, for example, depression and business success.
Yeah. Well, I had one client. He was a solicitor who had tried to commit suicide many years ago, and he was coming to the clinic where I was, and it was his final session. I hadn't met him before, but this was his final session. Um, Somebody was off ill, and so I stood in for them. So he didn't want to return to his business, which was a legal business. And I said, well, describe where you work. What is it you're looking at every day? And I said, what's the wall in front of him? I said, what have you got there? He said, oh, it's just blank. I said, well, why don't you put up a picture there that communicates to you why you're turning up to work every day? What's the vision? Where is it you want to go? And right away, I could see this man's face change instantly, because I could see in his head he was thinking about his family and where he wants to go with them. And then I said, if you employ people, you've got to make the place a nice environment for them so that your staff are happy. Because when you've got happy staff, then your business flourishes. If you've got low morale, then there's going to be blockages and discord within that environment for everybody else. So he really got it, and that man skipped out of that office. He was you could see that he was going off to implement these things. And I've seen people, it's the penny starts to drop. But besides that, I do I get people to help themselves as well, because, I can talk, as you know, from this all day long, but people have to implement it themselves. I can't go in there and change it, because it's all about change, remember? And it's about the book of changes. The reason why we're stuck in a rut, the reason why we can't move on, is because we are frozen and stuck within ourselves. So it's you that has to make that change. So even by picking up one thing and putting it over there, at least you did that change. So how can you find out more? Well, I've done a series of webinars. If people sign up onto my site, I've got a show called Feng Shui Mastery Show.com, and there they can sign up, and I actually do a webinar on wealth, 5 steps to creating wealth, thanks to Feng Shui. Now there is a sales pitch at the end. I'm not going to, but that's optional. If people want to know more in that package, that people can learn about more detailed areas of what to do in their bedroom, what to do in their kitchen. Then, by popular demand, people were looking at relationships, how to attract a special relationship. So I've just done 5 Feng Shui keys to attract that special relationship. So there's a free webinar on that as well that they can go to and have a look. And if they want to know more, there's other things they can go on to. Now, one aspect I haven't mentioned is it's not just about space. It's also about timing, being in the right place at the right time. So there is an astrological aspect to this. So you're changing all the time. So I've done something about, I've done a webinar called Being in the Right Place at the Right Time. That's free. I show you how to get your number, and you're moving in 9-year cycles. And each 9 years, each year of that 9-year cycle, you may be in a year for your business. You may be in a year where you have to focus on your health. But it wakes you up. Do you understand? It wakes you up and realizes that this is the energy of your year, and you need to focus on that. And I've used it, and a lot of people I know have used it, and it's fascinating. So there's that. They can contact me on wealthyspaces@gmail.com. Under Cathi Hargaden, and that's Hargaden, because it's such a complicated name sometimes. I'm on Facebook, and they can find out that webinar, free webinar there to look at, to do with wealth. And I'm just about to launch wealthyspaces.com.
Nice.
And that covers 9 areas of your life and how you can use Feng Shui in 9 different areas, whether it's your business, office, health, wealth, relationships, your kids and creativity, spirituality, and your career on the North Wall. So it covers all those aspects, and there's a free webinar in each, and you can find out more.
Nice. I'm really excited to see that website when it launches.
Oh, yes, yes, thank you. It's the epitome of, I think, what Feng Shui is about.
That's awesome. And I'm definitely myself going to have to check out those webinars because I feel like we could probably talk about this for the next 2 weeks. But it's very exciting stuff. And thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to be here. And I know that you're probably actually way further ahead than me in time right now because where are you located right now?
I'm just outside Heathrow, but you know what? There's no such thing as time. Think about that one. But thank you very much for having me because you actually get it, and it's great when I speak to people like that. So thank you for having me.
No problem. So we'll make sure we'll leave notes in our show notes on the website for everybody listening or watching. We do put this both on iTunes and Stitcher Radio for just the audio podcast, and it's available on YouTube as well, so people can actually see us chatting and get to see you as well. And show notes are on the website, YOP014.com. Thank you so much for being here, Cathi. I can't wait to speak with you again because I would love to maybe get together at some point a few months out from now, see where things have gone. I know that I'm hanging that picture up in a few minutes here, and hopefully we'll see you soon.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks very much. Thank you, Zephan.
All right, have a good one.
Bye.
You've probably heard me talk about designing a life that you actually want to live. You might have even heard about my travels or experiences and thought to yourself, yeah, I do want to do that. Eventually, someday I'll probably do it, and my guess is that you've been thinking about doing it for a long time. So I want to tell you this: stop thinking. Your time is right now. You don't need any more time, you don't need any more info. You don't need to keep putting it off and planning for the perfect time, because the truth of the matter is this: you could be the person who sits around and thinks about living a better life, or you can be the person that decides that today is the day that you're going to actually do it, and I want that for you. Because you already have what it takes. You've got a fire inside. Even if you can't see it right now, it's lit, but you need to open yourself up to the possibilities and throw a couple logs into the flames. So join me and the Year of Purpose tribe by subscribing to our YouTube channel and iTunes podcast. And if you really like us, please leave a review. This is Zephan Moses Blacksburg, and I can't wait to see you again on the Year of Purpose podcast.